Salesforce project activities. What are the activities that we will be doing as part of the project? Right? If I join a company and if I have started working on it, what are the things that we will be doing it? So in terms of Salesforce, once we join the company, in the project activities, we have a product backlog. There are something called as a product backlog. Product backlog is nothing but BA will be creating a stories, right? So there are some stories like what needs to be implemented. So all the stories will sit inside this backlog. It's like it is a container holding the all the stories that needs to be implemented going forward. That's called as which is called as a product backlog. And then we have from here, there are like, for example, in the product backlog, I have a 50 stories are there. 50 stories which are sitting inside the product backlog and this needs to be implemented. So out of these 50 stories, how many stories can a developer will be implementing it? How many stories can a developer will be implementing it? And what is the plan? So based on that, what they will do is based on the developer. Like if there are 5 developers, then what we will take out of this, they will take few. Here I have a 50 stories. Out of this, they will take 5 stories initially for each developer. Assume that there are 3 developers are there, so we have taken the 5 stories. That means out of this 5 stories is taken out and they have placed into the sprint backlog. Now product backlog is 45 because 5 stories are moved to the sprint backlog. From the sprint backlog, it starts the cycle. So that means there is a cycle is available in between this. So we have a sprint backlog. Once the stories are placed into the sprint backlog, there is a certain activities which is called as a sprint activity, sprint ceremonies. Right, sprint activity. That means we will have a sprint plan, which is this cycle will be a 2 to 4 weeks. That means few companies will have a 2 weeks of sprint. Few companies will have a 4 weeks of sprint. This is called as a sprint. This is called sprint. So few companies what they will do is they will have a 2 weeks of sprint. Few companies will have a 4 weeks of sprint based on the project. Now in this sprint.
So ma'am, Agile now has made it 2 weeks compulsory for the sprints.
Yes. So for Agile,
so 4 weeks.
2 weeks or a 4 weeks. Few companies will have a 4 weeks.
Okay, in the recent, we have been taken as a benchmark that we should only have 2 weeks. So no development should go beyond 2 weeks.
That is the few companies which most of the companies follows the 2 weeks. Okay, initially previous days, what used to happen is if it is a longer project and it is some very complex scenarios, what they used to do is even number, they will go for it 4 weeks. Now they have reduced it to 2 weeks, but before we used to have it 4 weeks. So there are few older companies which follows the 4 weeks also. Here in this sprint, they will be having a planning. So in the planning, what are the stories, who will be working on it, we will plan it. So in the planning, all the team members will be attending, developer, admin, BA, architect, everyone will be attending the sprint planning to decide it. What are the stories? Like there are 5 stories are there. Okay, these 5 stories, out of these 3 developers who will be taking care of which story, and each story will have a certain point. When I say certain point is nothing but, for example, here I have 5 stories. One story might be easier. So if we just a configuration piece, then we will keep it as a 1 story point. If it is a little bit complex, then we will give a 3 story points. If it is a customization, that means I need to implement a code, then I'll give a 5 story points. Like that, we will be having a 1, 3, 5, 8, like these stories will be there. So all the even. So this is the story point. So that means here, few companies will consider 1 story point is which is equal to 8 hours. Now you consider that 8 hours or a 6 hours, whatever the 8 hours or 6 hours, or else it can be considered as a 1 day. Right? So one story equal to could be a 8 hours, could be a 6 hours, could be a 1 day. That means I need to complete this story. So I can complete this story either in 1 day, in 8 hours, or in 6 hours. Three-point story is nothing but it will take 3 days. Right? So maybe assume that 24 hours, or maybe it is like a 20 hours, 20 to 24 hours, or 24 to 30 hours. So between that range, we need to solve this particular story. So based on that, we will give a story point here. Now, so these are the one which like we will give the story point. Once we have the story point, we will assign that to the each developer. Like we will be having it 3 developers, we will be assigning the stories to 3 developers. Now, once it is assigned, sprint planning will be assignment. So once it is done, then we will go for a daily stand-up. Right? So daily stand-up we have it. So in the daily stand-up, what we can do is we have to keep the update. So what are the stories are assigned to these developers? They will be providing the updates on daily basis. That means what I have done yesterday. What are we doing today? What I'm supposed to complete it today? And is there any blocker? Right, so these are the daily stand-up activities. Now, once the daily stand-up activities are done, then we'll have a sprint review. That means we will review the how the sprint is going on. Then finally, we have a retrospective. Retrospective is nothing but during this cycle, how did we go for it? Was there any complicated during this week, 2 weeks of plan? Was there any complicated? Did any team members did not help? Or how it was going it, whether it was going fine or not, like especially like what went well during this cycle, what did not go well during this cycle, and if there are any blockers, are you expecting any like stories are not good or stories are perfect? Like you have to keep the information. So based on this cycle will be keep on going on. So if we are till the what are the backlog stories are there, till the backlog stories are completed, we will be doing this cycle. That means all the 50 stories, the one which are there in the backlog, all the stories has to be delivered by the developers. Till that point, we will be doing this cycle. Once this cycle is done, that means all the 50 stories are developed by the team. So once it is done, then we'll have a product shift. Hello? Will have a product shift. Now this product shift will be, so basically it will have, that means we will be pushing these changes to the production, deploying it to the production. So this is how the cycle will go on. So finally here shift is nothing but product client will be having a access to whatever the implementation is done during this cycle, all the implementation will be available at the client location. Okay, so here this is the entire cycle. So during this time, we working with the developers, we will be working with the QA, we will be working with the architect, we will be working with BA, so or we will be working with project manager. Multiple people will be involved during this time. Now, during this time, you might see the issues from there is a tool called JIRA. We have a tool called JIRA. So in this JIRA, what we will do is we will be having a different kind of issues. Now, story is nothing but new, which we have to implement. Bug is nothing but we have implemented, after implementing, either QA or client have found the bug. That means there is a issue in your application. Whatever I have implemented, there is a issue in that application. It is not working as expected. Can be raised by the QA, can be raised by the QA test, right? And these are the mostly will have a epic. Epic is, don't worry, epic is nothing but a bigger story. Inside this will have a multiple stories will be there. Epic is a large kind of story, which we cannot complete it in one story point, which we cannot complete it in 3 story point. This might take as a 13 story point. When we have a 13 story point, we have to divide that into the smaller chunks, like a 1 story point, 3 story point, 5 story point. Like that, we need to divide this chunk. So the larger one, we call it as a epic, and the epic will be converted into the small chunks of stories. So these are the things you mostly hear about, story and bug. Epic is very rarely you will hear. Now from this, so epic will be divided into the story 1 and story 2. Like, and again, story will be having a small task. So stories will be assigned to the developers. This will be assigned to the developers. What developer will do is, this developer, they will divide it based on their comfortable, they will divide it to the task. They will say that, okay, this story has a dependency. That means if I have 2 developers, 1 developer and 2 developers, and whatever this developer is working on this story, so this story, half of the things he can complete it, half of the things it is depending on the second developer. So what they will do is they will divide it into tasks. So they will say that, okay, I'll complete this task. I'll create another task. Once the second developer is completed, I'll implement that. Now, once these 2 tasks are completed, that means story is completed. Right, so here we have it once we are done. So this is the deployment. Before the deployment, like before any application goes to the production, we will work on this epic story task. After moving to the client location, that means once we delivered our project to the client location, I have shipped the product to the client location. Once I have shipped to the client location, I might work on, developer might work on, or admin might work on the bugs or improvements, or there is a possibility that new features. So this side, it is called as a development team who will be fully focused on the implementing the new features, working on the new things. Here, this side, it is mostly could be a admin team. That means purely the admin team, or there is a developer admin team will be there. So that developer admin is nothing but they know little bit coding, but they are focused on the admin. They are perfect in the admin, they know 20% of development. So that kind of a team members will be working on the support. So this is called as a support issues. This is support issues. Admin team or a dev admin team will be working on it. This is called as a project. So where we will be working on completely focusing on implementing the new application. So project is all this epic story task, and when QA raises the issues, so they will raise it here. Now this is once it is shipped to the client location, we need to give a support. The support, we might see the bugs, they might say, client might say, okay, can you implement this feature in this existing application? They will say that, okay, existing application is working fine, but we need to improve the certain logic. So we need to improve it. So this is a support kind of issues. This support can be worked by the admin team or dev admin team. Now, any questions, whatever we have discussed in the project activities and issue type.
Hi, this is Anil. Yeah, the story points containing including QA or it's only for development?
Which one? The story
The
points.
story points.
Story point, it is including the how we will give the story points, development plus unit testing. We call it as a unit testing. Unit testing is nothing but not fully test, but whatever the expected acceptance criteria is there, is that acceptance criteria is working on it, where the developer has to test it. The combination of these two, they will be giving the story points. That means I'll be completing this, I'll be testing from my side whether it is working or not. And few companies, what they will do that, unit testing plus actual testing also they will do. But most of the companies will consider up to test.
So now
Thank you.
these steps which you have mentioned for project and all would not necessarily need that they would go through JIRA, right? They can practice any module of process to store their stories and development.
So there are different applications are there. So JIRA is one of the applications. And for few companies, what they will do is instead of using the JIRA, we have to pay this is a license fee. So this is we have to pay, company has to pay and take this. So in case if company is not offered the JIRA, what they will do is basically there are different. There are different applications are there. So those applications are like a service now. Few companies will use a service now application. And few companies, what they will does is they will use a Salesforce itself.
Yeah.
Salesforce itself, they will use it. Inside the Salesforce, they will create a epic story, task, bug, improvement, new feature, everything they will handle here because they cannot offer the JIRA cost. And few companies will use it Teams. Teams now is there. So they
Even
will
Clarity is there, right? Clarity
and
also stores.
there is another application which is a Clarity. Like this, we have so many are there. There are few CRM applications out there, which I have worked on, very old CRM this is. So there are few CRM. It's not only the JIRA, there are multiple will be there. But the flow will be exactly the same. Whether which are the application you work on it, the flow will be same. You will have a epic story, task, bug, improvement, new feature, who will be working on it. So this everything you will be having. So only the thing is that applications are, tools are different. Apart
So
from that,
so the teams who do the developments and who work on these stories will be on the development pro version, which is your partial cloned productions or environment, right? Where the smaller sprints can be worked on by each developers, which you showed yesterday on that 4 stages of sandboxes. So
right.
development team will work. Okay.
So here, for example, let's take a Salesforce. Salesforce is used for the development. At the back end, they will be doing the development. And also they will be having a separate org where they can be tracking all the Salesforce related stories. So they will be tracking all the Salesforce related stories. Now, so development team. So in this, in whatever the tool they are using it, so in that tool, they will be all tracking the information of this. And finally, what they will do is based on this, they will create a timeline. Timeline is nothing but when is the actual project is started, when is the actual project is started, and what are we planning to complete it by December 31st. So most of the companies does this. So what are the things that we are able to complete it by this year end? And what is pending? And what are the pending functionalities are there? So we need to give that information to the client. So this timeline we have to prepare. So if the project is started in the September, in that case, what they will do is September, they will have a plan. Okay, so September we are starting it. If we start in September, then by December 31st, how much you can complete it. That means this is high level team, BA or architect has to sit together and they have to inform the team saying that, okay, what I can complete it. This is the JIRA application. This is one tool which I'm explaining it, but the concept is same. So this is the JIRA. Now if you search here JIRA software, yeah, account. So there is a 30 days free trial is there. You can create it if you want. So once you create it, you will choose the Scrum board. So it will show you the three boards, Kanban board, Scrum board, and another one it is going to show waterfall board. So choose the Scrum board. So once you choose the Scrum board, so usually in the real time, how it will be there is you have to click on this project. Once you click on this project, you have to choose which project you are working on it. If you are assigned to a project, you will be able to see your project here. Once you are able to see the project, now click on that. You will be able to see once you click on it. So here, board, backlog, timeline. These three you will be able to see. In this, your focus is board because this is the product backlog. This is product backlog. All the 50 stories which sits in the product backlog. Now, once your sprint is started, that means your stories are started. When your stories are started, it will give you here who are the members working in this sprint. So here it is get started. The cycle is get started. Now you have to go to the back and no need to worry. You will not be doing all these things. Let's say create a user story is there is a one story which is available. So this is created by BA. So BA will be creating it and they will be assigning the stories to you. Once they assign the stories, now let's say here, create a user in Salesforce. This is one story. So let's say here, I'm going to create it. Or else you can click on here, create, and my Scrum story is summary, created user in Salesforce. And this I'm going to specify it here. Let's expand. Okay. So story, and here it will have a, in description, you have a problem statement. And then acceptance criteria. And then if there are any attachments, you will have a attachments or screenshot, the problem screenshot or attachment guiding or some links, they will provide a links. So these information will be available in the description. Problem statement is system admin user. user, let's say here, Mark David. It creates acceptance criteria is, let's say here acceptance criteria will be Mark David should have Salesforce access, should be able to see all the admin, able plus related to admin. Okay, so and the user details, they have to provide the user details. User details, what are the details they need to provide it? They need to provide it first name, last name, email. So this information is required. If we have this information, we will be. And then once it is done, whom should we assign it? So Samskar ID, they will be assigning it. If you want to label, like this is the user related. So user and the sprint is we will be having it for sprint and story point is this is just a one story point. And it's it. Now you developer will not be creating this issue, so don't worry about it. This is created by the BA, but how I'm just showing you so that if you want to do it or if you want to understand what are the activities will be there. So in that case, what you can do is you can go to the backlog and just see what are the tickets you have it or the one which are in the backlog. If I click on the backlog, I can see one story is available in the backlog. Okay, so I'll say here start sprint. 2 weeks, so we will have a 2 weeks of time, 1 week of time, 3 weeks of time, 4 weeks of time. So usually most of the companies follows the 2 weeks of sprint. If there are companies who like a complexity is there, they need it, like if it is a last sprint and they do not want to extend anymore. In that case, till now they have followed the 2 week sprint. But in some scenario, at the end of the project, we need a little time extension because of the holidays or maybe in 1 week they have a 3 holidays. In that case, what they will do is they will extend that sprint to the 4 weeks. So that's how they will plan it and click on this end date. So it is automatically taken 12/15 to 12/29 on this start. So when we say start, now here it is the sprint is started. Now our work is just focus on this code. Now here you will be able to see if you are now whoever is working on this project, you will be able to see here the task. Now this is the task which is assigned to you. Now open this task or a story. Open this and you will be able to see the story and what is expected out of this story. So this is the description. This is how you will have it and it is assigned to you. If you have your name, that means it is assigned to you. And this is a sprint 1 and story points are 1. Now that's how it will be created. Now once you start working on it, you have to move this to the in progress or else just open this ticket. And here you can update the status from to do to in progress. Now, this is not the standard one. This is not the standard to do in progress time. There are companies who follow the more information. Let's say here, right now, the stories, So they will be having a few other things also. So this is, let's say, internal review. Internal review, they will be having another card here, and then to do will be there. In development, and let's say blog, or let's say QA testing, which is nothing but a testing, demo, and then ready for production. Then in production. So these are the different status they will be having it, not only this, so you can add it here. So you have it like, you will not be doing it, so don't worry about it. So you will be able to see here, instead of to do in progress done, you might see few more options like a internal in development, blog, testing, demo, ready for production, in production, or you might see that a deployment might have it, which is called as a deployment. So it's based on the team, how they want to track it. So you will see more options. So this is one tool which is a JIRA. Now, same thing, there are companies, they follow the different rules. Any questions on this project activities?
Ma'am, what is a sprint retrospective?
What is?
Ma'am, what is a sprint retrospective?
Retros are, it's kind of a, everybody sitting in the call, like everybody will gather and they will talk about what has been done during this entire 2 weeks. So this is a 2 weeks of sprint. So this is at the end of these 2 weeks, team will gather. Team, when I say developer, admin, BA, QA, everybody will gather and they will talk about what did go well in this entire cycle. And like they will be having a good points and as well as the improvement points also they will be having, and they will talk about what did not go well. And are we expecting any improvement in this plan going for the sprint? Are we expecting anything and any help is required going further? And is the stories are all good or not? And is there any blockers? So they will talk about these all things in the retrospective. Any other questions on the project activities? So I have also provided the referral link where this is the link. You can create your free account and play with this in case if anybody has never worked on any kind of this flow. You might have worked on the service now or a clarity or something different Salesforce, different. But there are few members who never seen how it is working. So what you guys can do is you can create a free account in JIRA, try for 30 days. So play with that so that you will be used to how it is working and how the cards will be moving it. So they will be having it. You will have some kind of a knowledge. So just play for some time so you will get a knowledge. Now, trial head link, I'll provide you the trial head link, which is explained in the trial head about the Scrum, Kanban. Kanban is a different, Scrum is a Agile method. So I'm pasting in the chat. Now here Scrum is nothing but you are following the Agile method. Kanban is nothing but mostly it will be for the waterfall model. I mean waterfall model. So for waterfall model, we follow the Kanban. Usually this Kanban is used for the support. For support team, we follow this Kanban. For Scrum, we follow it for the Agile. This is for the product. So it is explained in the guide as well. So you can do that. If you do this, then you will be able to understand clearly.